Welcome to Truth Behind History, where we dive deep into the past to understand the present. Today, we're exploring one of the most influential political and economic systems in modern Europe, social democracy. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is social democracy? Well, it's not full-blown socialism, and it's certainly not pure capitalism either. Instead, it's a balancing act, a political ideology that blends market capitalism with government intervention to promote social justice and economic fairness. The goal? To ensure that while businesses thrive, people don't get left behind. After World War II, European nations faced an enormous challenge: how to rebuild their economies after years of destruction. Many countries turned to social democratic policies to reduce inequality, create stability, and ensure that economic growth benefited everyone. This era, known as the post-World War II European consensus, laid the foundation for welfare states across the continent. Governments introduced social safety nets like universal healthcare, free or affordable education, and worker protections. But social democracy isn't just a relic of the past. It remains highly relevant today, especially in the face of globalization, economic uncertainty, and the rise of populist movements. Some praise it as a model that promotes both prosperity and equality, while others criticize it for its costs and potential inefficiencies. So, how did social democracy shape Europe, and where is it headed? Stick around as we break it all down, one step at a time. If social democracy had a gold standard, it would probably be Scandinavia. Countries like Sweden, Norway, and Denmark are often hailed as the ultimate examples of social democracy in action. But what makes their model so effective, and why do so many people look to these nations as a benchmark? First, let's talk about taxation. Scandinavian countries have some of the highest tax rates in the world, and that might sound alarming to some. But here's the key: those high taxes fund extensive welfare programs. We're talking universal healthcare, tuition-free higher education, paid parental leave, and a robust social security system. In short, people pay a lot in taxes, but they also receive a lot in return. Now, this approach isn't just about generosity, it's about economic stability. Strong social safety nets reduce income inequality and promote social mobility. If you're born into poverty in Sweden, you have a much better chance of climbing the economic ladder than in many other countries. Education and healthcare aren't luxuries, they're rights, ensuring that economic background doesn't determine a person's future. But social democracy in Scandinavia isn't just about government programs. Another major factor is the cooperation between labor unions and employers. Collective bargaining plays a huge role in ensuring fair wages, good working conditions, and job security. In many cases, businesses and unions work together instead of being at odds. This balance fosters economic productivity while maintaining strong worker protections. And the results? Well, year after year, Scandinavian countries rank among the happiest in the world. Their citizens report high levels of well-being, job satisfaction, and overall quality of life. Of course, no system is perfect, and the Scandinavian model has its own challenges, but there's no denying that it has been incredibly successful in achieving the core goals of social democracy, balancing market freedom with social responsibility. So, if the Scandinavian model works so well, why isn't every country adopting it? Well, that's where things get complicated. And that brings us to the challenges social democracy faces today. Now, while social democracy has been a dominant model in Europe for decades, it's far from invincible. In fact, it's facing some serious challenges, both economic and political. And if history has taught us anything, it's that no system lasts forever without adapting. First, let's talk about populism. Across Europe, we've seen the rise of far-right and nationalist movements that challenge traditional social democratic values. These parties argue that high taxation, government intervention, and open immigration policies weaken national identity and economic strength. Their growing influence puts pressure on social democratic parties, often forcing them to adjust their policies or risk losing power. Then, there's globalization. In an increasingly interconnected world, companies can move their operations anywhere they find cheaper labor and lower taxes. This puts social democratic governments in a tough spot. If they raise taxes too high, businesses might leave, taking jobs with them. And if automation and artificial intelligence continue replacing human labor, it could mean even greater economic disruption, making it harder to sustain expensive welfare programs. Demographics are another major issue. Europe's population is aging, meaning there are fewer working-age people to support growing numbers of retirees. This strains public pension systems and healthcare services, forcing governments to make tough choices: either raise taxes, cut benefits, or rethink how these programs are funded. And of course, there's immigration. Many social democracies pride themselves on inclusivity and generous welfare policies, but integrating large numbers of migrants isn't always easy. It requires cultural adaptation, social support, and job opportunities. If integration efforts fall short, it can create social tensions and fuel anti-immigration movements, further challenging the foundations of social democracy. So, is social democracy at risk? Not necessarily, but these challenges mean that for social democracy to survive, it has to evolve. And that brings us to our next discussion: how social democracy is adapting to a changing world. Social democracy has always been about adaptation, finding ways to balance economic growth with social justice. But in today's world, that balance is becoming harder to maintain. So, how are social democracies adjusting to modern challenges? One approach is policy innovation. Some countries are experimenting with ideas like universal basic income, or UBI, which would provide citizens with a guaranteed income regardless of employment status. The goal? To reduce poverty and provide financial stability in an economy increasingly shaped by automation and precarious jobs. Another major focus is on green policies, investing in renewable energy, sustainable infrastructure, and climate-friendly industries to create jobs while protecting the environment. Then there's youth engagement. Social democratic parties recognize that their future depends on younger generations, so they're working to mobilize young voters and get them involved in democratic processes. Many young people are passionate about issues like climate change, wealth inequality, and digital rights, and these concerns are shaping modern social democratic platforms. International collaboration is another key strategy. In a world where globalization can't be undone, social democracies are strengthening alliances to promote social justice and push back against authoritarianism. Whether through the European Union or global agreements, these nations are working together to maintain democratic values and economic fairness. And of course, we can't ignore technological adaptation. AI and automation are changing the job market, and governments are looking for ways to ensure that workers aren't left behind. Some are investing in reskilling programs, while others are using AI to improve public services and make government programs more efficient. So, while social democracy is facing some serious challenges, it's far from obsolete. Instead, it's evolving, trying to keep up with the rapid pace of change in today's world. But will it succeed? That's the big question. And that brings us to our final thoughts on where social democracy goes from here. So, where does social democracy go from here? Well, if history has shown us anything, it's that no system stays the same forever. Social democracy has already evolved over the decades, and if it wants to survive, it has to keep adapting. Its legacy is undeniable. Post-World War II Europe was rebuilt on the foundations of social democracy, leading to stability, economic growth, and some of the highest living standards in the world. Welfare states helped lift millions out of poverty, and policies promoting economic fairness created societies that were more equal than ever before. But today, the challenges are different. Globalization has made it harder to regulate economies at a national level. Demographic shifts are putting pressure on social programs, and technological advancements are reshaping the workforce in ways we've never seen before. If social democracy wants to remain relevant, it must find new ways to balance free markets with social justice. So, what's the path forward? Many believe that social democracy's success in the future will depend on how well it adapts to modern realities. Can it incorporate new policies like universal basic income? Can it address climate change while maintaining economic growth? And perhaps most importantly, can it convince the next generation that its model is still the best way to build a fair and prosperous society? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure: history is still being written. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into social democracy, make sure to subscribe to Truth Behind History. Hit the like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and check out some of our other videos for more historical insights. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep exploring the truth behind history.